thank everybody that's joining us. This is Royce Eddings, Royce in the house with my esteemed colleagues here, all my other hosts. I've got Jeff Davidson, I've got Dan McNew, and I've got the one and only Lou Mars, multi-instrumentalist and award-winning drummer. And we're doing part 2 tonight. We did part 1 last week, and we're talking about albums that changed the direction and the sound of rock and roll. And there's a lot of stuff out there to choose from. You can go to 100 articles, and it's all going to change up a little bit. And I'm going to say really quickly, I'm going to say hi, Caitlin, because we really appreciate Caitlin. She's one of our biggest supporters. And what would we do without you, Kate? Hi. And so anyway, we're going to have part 2 here. So I think we're just going to start out. Did we bring up Guns N' Roses at all last time?
I don't recall that.
Because I always thought Guns N' Roses, like Appetite for Destruction, was a bit of a game changer. I mean, I would describe them as like, well, classic, a combination of classic rock and heavy metal. You know what I'm saying? What do you guys feel about? Okay, Michael Nolan. I'm gonna put a link. Hi, Michael. There's a link to go ahead and come on.
I just got noticed that we're on. Hey, we're on.
Say, Jeff, what do you think about Guns N' Roses and Appetite for Destruction, and any influence it might have had on bands that followed?
Yeah, I think that they did, and them along with Metallica.
Yeah, and Metallica. Yeah, I wanted to bring up Master of Puppets. I think that was kind of a game changing.
The whole glam thing,
The whole glam, yeah.
Even though Guns N' Roses was from Los Angeles, Sunset Strip, they were
right.
They were a world apart because they were gutter rats. They were glam rock, really.
That's everything I've read too. I had the pleasure of attending the making of a video for Guns N' Roses, and that was Use Your Illusions 2, I believe, and the song was November Rain. Just a beautiful song. And it was the video was filmed at the Orpheus Theater in Los Angeles, and they wouldn't tell you who it was. They just said a famous rock band's filming a indoor video. If you'd like to come, wear a suit. And so we heard this with the radio playing on the construction site, and we went ahead and left the job and rented tuxes that night and drove down there the next day and walked in. We didn't know until we got into the lobby it was Guns N' Roses, and we both were Guns N' Roses fans. And so they did I think 7 takes of November Rain, and I'll tell you, that's a long song to begin with. I mean, a really long song. Extended piano solos, Slash's extended solos, and just a great video. So we were in the part of the video that was in the theater. The cameras would pan across in between. Hi, Mike.
Hey, guys.
We were just talking about Guns N' Roses, and I was finishing up telling the guys here that I was at the making of the November Rain video of Use Your Illusions 2, the Orpheus Theater downtown Los Angeles, and they wouldn't tell you who was in the band. They wouldn't advertise it in Los Angeles because it stopped traffic. We were way up here on the Central Coast, 4.5 hours away, and they advertised it up here. Said you had to show up in a tuxedo, and we're not going to tell you who it is. And so, just for the hell of it, because all day long we played music games at work, the radio would play, and it'd be like, who could name the last 3 songs and, the singer and whatever. We do this all day long. And so when this came on, we were like, well, let's go. What the hell? We don't know who it is, but we're not doing anything anyway. So we went down there the next day. We're in the theater wearing our tuxedos. And they did 7 takes of it. Very long song to begin with. In between takes, Slash and Axl would sit on the stage, and people would pile up into a big line, and the girls would go up there and get their breasts and their butts and everything else they wanted signed. And a guy might get a dollar bill signed. And I got caught up in it. I was like probably the oldest guy in the whole place. I go rushing down and get in line. And as I start getting closer, I'm going, what am I doing? What am I going to ask for? I actually got in line and went back to my seat.
Well, don't you have a video out on that, Royce? I thought I saw a video on your channel on that.
Yeah, there might be something.
Yeah, that
Right.
sounded really familiar.
It
Yeah.
sounded familiar. So that was fun. And there was a lot of time. We must have been in there for 4 to 5 hours. Those takes were long. The
Yeah.
wait between takes was long. And I think we got out about 1 o'clock in the morning. It was like ridiculous, And but anyway, so enough of Guns N' Roses. We feel like they did some influencing.
I had seen them on that tour, and
What's that?
I had saw them on that tour. I didn't see them on the first tour, but I saw them
Okay.
on the Losing tour.
Okay. Right.
And they had Smashing Pumpkins was the openers, and I mean the crowd just destroyed them, booed them off the stage, and
Smashing Pumpkins.
throwing stuff at them. But then it took hours for them to get on stage, and they were like,
Yeah.
the whole time they had, they had the big. That was when they first started having the big video screens, it was early '90s, and so
Okay. Yeah.
they were like scanning the crowd, and the girls were mooning the cameras, And when they finally came out about midnight, Slash was like, "Well, we would have come out earlier, but we were enjoying that show so much."
Here's what I'll say about
Well, that's how it is. I mean, I remember going to California Jam at the Ontario Speedway. I think it was around 75 or something. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was a lot of people were there, You had, Black Sabbath was playing, and and Linda Lovelace showed up in a helicopter. She was a big star at the time, and she showed up, got in the helicopter, and started being kind of clever with the things she was saying, mostly relating to it. You can only imagine, but we're all, yeah, Linda Lovelace. Sorry, dear. Didn't mean to hit you with my elbow. I was clapping so hard. Anyway, so that was kind of a fun concert, but there was nudity. There's this guy wearing a white turban, completely naked, standing at the gate, as people were walking through. Like, oh my God,
I want to say one thing about Guns N' Roses, though. So
Okay.
Guns N' Roses, if you are a current person listening to music now, listening to that music then, you might have a hard time discerning why they made a difference, because it really doesn't sound all that different. But I'm going to say this for the young bucks that are listening, so that they understand. Part of it was the environment. A lot of these bands that made a difference, it was because of the environment that was going on at the time that they came out. The environment. I was touring during those years as well. Unfortunately, that old. But what was going on was you had Poison, you had Motley Crue, you had Warrant on the charts at that time, toward the top. And these were called now what we call big hair bands. They were big hair. It was the end of the 80s where the neon started coming out, and it really went hardcore mainstream, almost kind of like what the 50s did, where the music, this is an opinion, lost its soul. So what happened is that you had these cool kind of songs, but they were goofy and happy, but which is fun for some people. Hey, polka dot bikini was cool too, right? But here's the thing: Guns N' Roses all of a sudden comes out, and it's "Welcome to the Jungle," and you're gonna die, and this shit is hitting hard, and the soul was back in rock and roll, and that's why that album made and was important. It got us back to where rock came from, which was that rebellious attitude, and I think that's important.
Rebellious
for
attitude.
young guys. It is
Right.
That is rock and roll. That is rock and roll. I was one of the guys that said when I heard Guns N' Roses, I said, "Oh, they'll never make it. That guy's his voice is going to be the same on every song." Right?
And you were right.
You
were right, Lou. His voice is exactly the same on every song.
Yeah, I think Michael and I have had this conversation before, something similar.
Did he really? I brought you a shot, Michael.
Well, it's basically about Axl singing. Yeah.
Yeah. I understand. I do understand all of the criticism that he is a great singer. Okay. I understand his range. It's his freaking delivery, guys. Here's the problem that I hear with Axl Rose, and the very barrier to me enjoying Slash, okay, is that Axl Rose, to my ears, he has this transition problem. It's like somebody's taking the bass and treble knob and going whang 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 the whole freaking time, guys. But
he's got one.
But I do realize that he's considered one of the greatest singers in rock and roll. It's just like my wife. You know, I talk to my wife. She cannot stand Rod Stewart's voice. It's like nails across a chalkboard to her.
Yeah.
But then I hear Rod Stewart and I hear Truth. I hear Jeff Beck. I don't hear Do You Think I'm Sexy? So that's my thoughts.
You're talking about about dynamics, Michael. You're talking about dynamics, and you know, even great singers like Steve Perry have received that same complaint. To where there's one Steve
rightfully
Perry sound,
so,
right? A ballad or
so.
rock song. Steve Perry's doing the same. Oh, whoa, you know, the same old stuff.
Exactly
the same. He doesn't go down or up. He doesn't know what double P, the pianissimo or fortissimo is. He has no idea. It's just
I know.
That's Steve Perry.
When the lights go down in the city,
We love you, Steve.
Right?
He's laughing all the way to bait, buddies, right?
Yes, he is. And I'm not. So who am I to even criticize? Except a fan. I'm a fan, and we all draw our own conclusions.
Well, Michael, now tell me you didn't love Axl singing the Terminator with the Arnold Schwarzenegger. The video I'm talking about, the video.
You know what? I don't know if I've actually heard that one, Royce, because after he raped Live and Let Die, that was it for me. You know, I almost couldn't hear McCartney's version for 3 or 4 years after that. And it's like goodbye McCartney's version, goodbye George Martin's version, goodbye any version. You know?
Any other version, right.
But what is it again? And I'll give it an honest listen. I will.
Yeah. No, it's the movie The Terminator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Well, they did Guns N' Roses did a video. It was played all day long on MTV. And it was that video for the Terminator. So there was all these scenes from the Terminator in it. And there's a little funny scene at the end when Axl walks up and meets the Terminator. You know, it was actually fun to watch. I enjoy it. You'll enjoy the video, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Next.
Okay, I've got to bring this one up. We didn't mention this last week, but I've got to bring up the iconic Michael Jackson Thriller album.
Oh, yeah.
And
fabulous
you know what?
album.
Fabulous album. I grew up at a time when we had the Jackson 5, and Michael Jackson was, I don't know, 6 years old, singing ABC as easy as 1, 2, 3. And and I was not a fan. You know, I'm listening Down on the Killing Floor by Led Zeppelin or Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze. I'm not listening to ABC 1, 2, 3, right? And I'll never forget. I was I don't know, one of my 2 or 3 cars. None of them were running. I was hitchhiking uptown one day, and a couple of classmates picked me up, and Michael Jackson was playing. And I was just listening to Led Zeppelin at home before I started making the trek up to the Polar Queen to find out where the party was going to be. And so. So we're hanging out, and I get picked up, and they're taking me wherever I want to go. And they said one of them looked at the other one, and a Michael Jackson song, that very song, ABC 1, 2, 3, came on. And he goes, "About time Michael came out with a good one," and he cranked it up. I kind of got a kick out of it. It's okay. We all have different taste. But Michael Jackson, I didn't really warm up to Michael Jackson later in life, and it was really more like the Beat It and Thriller stuff that I actually started to really appreciate. And I kind of did the same thing with Prince. I wasn't an early fan of Prince. And I'm not really sure why exactly, but we already had Michael Jackson with those high-pitched squeals and screams. And the first time or second time, third time, fourth time, and fifth time I heard Prince, he was doing the same thing. And it was like at the time, I just felt like one was enough. And just like with Prince, it took me a while to really appreciate Michael Jackson and really appreciate Prince. Both of them artists.
Yeah, but Prince Purple Rain is one of those albums that made a difference because there was nothing like it at the time.
Yeah.
Although he obviously begat from Michael Jackson and James Brown, without that tree, that sequence, that would not have happened. But that's why those guys were on the list. They each inspired someone to change music like them. Yeah, remember when Purple Rain, there it is again with Environment. Purple Rain comes out with Madonna rolling on a bed and so forth. It was night and day. The guitar playing in Purple Rain is actually quite good. I feel one of the most underrated guitar players out there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
The guy is screaming on that. Yep. That's one. And the thing about Prince, I'm going to have one more thing. Is that remember the Police? So Prince, I believe, I'm not sure who made the quote. It might have been James Brown, who said that Prince had an art of putting those beats in on the up, the and. He was really good on playing the and. If you think like of When Doves Cry is a great example.
Yeah.
You know, man, there's so much going on there.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
a hard rocker like you, Royce. I was playing and touring with rock bands. I mean, hard rock bands. But at night I went dancing. And when I went dancing, that's the shit that I was playing because I like to dance. And when you're dancing, you want to move. And you can't move to some of the stuff that we played. That's all
No,
we do.
no.
You know?
I don't know where to begin.
That's just the truth, you know? That was good dance music. Go ahead.
You know what
Yeah.
I was going to say is that it can be said that with Prince and Michael Jackson being such a major force in the 80s, and the only real band to give them serious competition in sales and everything were the Police. And yet the Police were so short-lived. Was that
Yeah.
the end? Was that the end of classic rock right then? I think it was.
Oh,
and then
okay.
we, in the early 90s, late 80s, we start getting the beginnings
Big
of
statement.
what we would see with Nirvana, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
right.
in a
Yeah,
way,
about
the
that.
80s wound up being the superstars or decade.
Yeah, there's
You
no,
know?
there's no doubt that was it. Well, I feel that 1990/91 was the 1969 of our current period as far as the way music changed. It's the
Yep.
closest we've got
Okay.
to bands coming out and just
Really
it's
changing.
like
Yeah.
overnight in 30 days.
Right.
Shit went down.
Right.
I was on the
Right.
tour buses when it was playing. We're all going, "Oh fuck." You know, we were betting that funk rock was where it was going to go. With
Learn
Chili's
some,
and Jane's.
learn
And
some
all
new
of a sudden
songs
we
on
heard
the bus.
Nirvana.
Yeah.
And that was all because of MTV, you know, because
Yes,
they made them
yes.
overnight stars.
Yeah,
There you
well,
go.
they did that with a lot of bands, but
Like
these guys-
Prince, he had 4 or 5 albums out before Purple Rain, and
yes,
then he
Here's
hit on
what TV
MTV,
does, right?
and boy,
Ozzy Osbourne's been quoted. He's saying, "I thought rock music was big until I did reality TV." He said, he gets more recognized more for that. People are like, "You were the rock band?" No shit. There's a lot of people out there.
So anyway,
You're
yeah,
my second favorite dad on TV, right next to Leave It to Beaver's dad. You know?
Garrett,
Herman
don't poop on
Munster.
the floor.
yeah. So
Award.
I want to throw this one out as an influential album, and that would be Marvin Gaye. What's Going On in 1971?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Yes. Oh yeah.
yeah. I mean, I loved that music. I loved all of it. You know, I mean, I had a little period around 67, 68 where it was all about soul music. You know, not 100%, but I mean, I was a big fan of soul music. You know,
Yeah.
like I mentioned last week on the show, if you know anyone that's listened to Otis Redding's Dock of the Bay more than I have, please introduce me to him so I can shake his hand. I mean, we were like obsessed
Romantic.
with some of that stuff. Yeah, you know, Marvin Gaye and
Well, he took
Oh,
soul mainstream. He took soul mainstream.
yeah,
you know? That was
right,
soul.
right.
And
Love
man,
the Temptations. And I felt so fortunate because later in life, and I didn't think anybody was still alive in any of those bands, right here at the Paso Robles Fairgrounds, where I'm going to be seeing Journey in a few weeks, the Four Tops and the Temptations showed up together. And a lot of people didn't know them anymore. And there was a small venue, and it was like big tables set up down in the, you know, what would be the main section. And
Until they heard the music.
yeah, they came 2 years in a row, you know, and there was no such thing as a bad seat. And man, did I really enjoy getting to see those guys, because the Four Tops were fantastic. You know, Bernadette, Seven Rooms of Gloom. I haven't listened to them in a little while, but the list goes on and on and on. It's like every song was a hit, you know, with those guys.
Well, you know, Marvin Gaye even influenced Bay Area music, Royce. How about Tower of Power, Still a Young Man?
Yeah,
You
right,
know?
right.
We had an earlier conversation before we went on the air about time.
Oh, really? I couldn't catch you guys. I was trying different heads. And all that. So, yeah.
The people out
Right.
here right now listening didn't hear that conversation either, but you're exactly right. That begat Tower of Power, Earth, Wind, and Fire, which created funk into the mainstream, which begat Rick James and a whole nother scene and genre of music.
Right into the 80s.
Yes,
Well,
exactly.
Again.
Well, you know,
Exactly.
a couple of bands, and there's not that many bands with a great horn section. But first there was Chicago.
Oh yeah.
I saw them live in concert.
Underrated.
I'm pretty sure they've influenced a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Absolutely.
And I'll throw the other one out right now. We can talk about both of them. And I saw at the Hollywood Palladium twice. I saw Sly and the Family Stone, and I really loved that. band.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hot
And
fun in
I'll
the
tell you,
summertime.
Sly Stone was such was such a performer that when everybody left the stage, he'd come out and just dance around and yell, "Want to take you higher," and everybody be, "Yeah," and he just danced around and yell these things out, and just clowning around, and it was really entertaining, we were all really appreciative. But he was such an entertainer, and he started out as a disc jockey, from what I understood too.
Well,
Sly.
I didn't know that. Huh.
Yeah, that's what I'd always heard.
I'm going to throw something toward Dan on this one. I'm not a Southern rock fan. I'm going to put that out there, but I got to tell you this: the first time I heard ZZ Top Tush album, I was blown away, man. I was blown away. I heard that album. Was that it was a Texas album? Was that around 77? Maybe a little
No,
earlier?
before that, but earlier than that.
75.
Yeah.
Wow, you had this three-piece. I never heard anything like that. There's another one. I mean, we mentioned Southern rock. Who brought up Southern rock last time?
I
think
did.
it was Allman Brothers.
Yeah, the Allman Brothers.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that all
Life
week.
at
I
the
went back
Fillmore
and
East.
listened to some Allman Brothers because of that conversation, and I concur.
Well, ZZ Top never considered themselves Southern rock. They considered
No,
themselves. They were Texas rock. Texas
Yeah,
rock.
Tex-Mex.
Oh,
Tex-Mex, weren't they? Didn't they identify with Tex-Mex?
Yeah.
Dan?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
One of their songs actually about somewhat in Mexico, talking about the X. I heard it on the X. So that's a Mexico
to me, they're
connection.
to me,
Station.
they
What
go more
wasn't
than
the whole name and the whole persona kind of connected to a famous Mexican U.S. station that kind of was heard on both sides of the borders?
Yeah.
I don't know. I seem to remember that being
yeah.
part of their.
You're not talking about Wolfman Jack, are you?
No.
No.
This is ZZ Top.
Okay.
And from what I remember, they grew up listening to this station. It was very influential to the members.
Gotcha.
I may be
That's a
off
good
base
guess,
there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I remember we did 7 or 8 months ago, we did a Southern rock vinyl unboxing show, and I had 3 co-hosts, and one of them's a rock vocalist, Michael McVeigh, and the other one owns an actual vinyl plant. He makes albums, and then Pat, his partner. Anyway, they're a bunch of good guys and very, very knowledgeable. And we had a Southern rock vinyl album unboxing, and the one guy from Tennessee said, "I want to tell everybody right now, I hate Southern rock," and he was from Tennessee, born and bred. Jason, I won't say his last name.
Yeah,
Jason.
that's right.
And he goes, "I'm born and bred in Tennessee, but the minute I hear that Southern drawl, I start heading the other direction." Then when we got to ZZ Top, because I had, I don't know, 4 or 5 ZZ Top albums to show off, and the Eliminator album, not the Eliminator album, that's ZZ Top, but I mean the Hardware, the one that was done, a solo album.
Oh, Billy Gibbons. Yeah.
Billy Gibbons, yeah, thank you.
I think the album I'm talking about.
Sadly, Dusty, the bass player, died last year. That was Now I saw ZZ Top in concert. I used to go every year to the Laughlin River Run, Laughlin, Nevada. We all rode our Harleys back as a group, me and my friends. And one of my friends had 2 ZZ Top tickets, and I got to see ZZ Top. And I tell you, I've never heard so much sound coming out of 3 people in my life. It was just
Power
a
Trios.
fantastic band.
Yeah. What was the consensus with you guys when you came? The panel, as far as
the panel disagreed that ZZ Top was Southern rock.
I see.
I was the only one that brought the. Yeah.
All right. I hear. Well, Texas, to me, I don't know. I was born in North Carolina, raised in Santa Rosa, California, but spent over a year back in North Carolina in my junior year. So you can't beat the South out of me. I hear I hear a bit of Southern rock with ZZ Top.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, no,
I do.
You know, Texas has never been considered part of the South. If you're
Right.
from Texas.
What about
It
East
was an
Texas?
island.
But they
Hey,
definitely
Dan, what
have
about East
country and
Texas?
blues roots.
Maybe East Texas. Yeah, maybe East
Yeah,
Texas.
yeah. But I don't know. You know, the thing is I thought maybe you guys had reached a consensus as to whether all of you were fans of Southern rock or not. Because I'll tell you, I am a fan of Southern
Oh, I
rock.
am. I am.
Right, starting even with,
I
can you
appreciate
believe
it.
this? Black Oak, Arkansas, who I
Yeah.
saw in a high school gymnasium in 1972 in North Carolina. They blew me away. I was an instant fan. You know.
Well,
I'm a fan of Alabama's vocals. Remember Alabama?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Lonesome Loser.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
they had those vocals that were sick.
I'll tell you right. I'll tell you right now. Paso Robles Fairgrounds, Alabama came. I think 6 years in a row. They were so popular, and I know me and Betty saw them at least 3 times. That was a great. You never hear about them anymore, but that was a great band.
Yeah, and I
Okay,
think
you asked me about consensus. Well, I don't think this was a very popular statement, and I'm not sure I really back it 100%. But my statement was, I'm trying to hedge my bet here a little bit. My statement was, I actually looked at Freebird as such a I almost put it on the level of Stairway to Heaven is what I did, you know.
oh,
Definitely,
well,
definitely an
that and
anthem.
Hotel California, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Freebird, Stairway to Heaven, Hotel California. The
Right.
3 most overplayed songs in rock and roll.
Right. But also 3 rock anthems right there. 3 rock anthems.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's why
There's
they're
a reason they
overplayed.
got overplayed.
No, exactly. And that Black Oak, Arkansas actually was at the California Jam that I was telling you. They helicoptered Linda Lovelace in to say hi. And
Oh,
and
was
Black
that?
Sabbath.
Wow.
Yeah, Black Sabbath was there. It was kind of fun, you know. I didn't go to 2. I just thought the conditions there. You sat out in this blistering sun, you know, with no shade all day, and they were actually dropping from the sky these little paper, you know, things to put around your head to try to block the sun because everybody was down on the ground just crying. That's how hot it was.
Jeff and I didn't even have that a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, God.
Out there in
I sat
Oklahoma.
in the car.
Man,
Oklahoma. Oh.
yeah, my face just now got through peeling from that day.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh my God. I'll never forget when I moved to Long Beach in '71 and I went back to get my Harley Davidson out of my parents' backyard. And I rode it back with the headband tied around my head, very long hair, and a tank top on. And when I finally got to Long Beach, I was absolutely blistered.
Have a stripe across your head.
Yeah, big white stripe across my head.
Plus, if you're wearing sunglasses and you get burnt, you look like a raccoon.
Right. Okay, so anybody want to bring up an iconic album that changed the direction of music and the sound? And I mean, I know I was.
Aren't we getting close to like the early '90s now?
Yeah, we are right in there. You know, that's going to lead me to a couple of things that it was mentioned. Lou mentioned this band earlier that collaborated with Aerosmith at a time when Aerosmith was kind of fading, and that was Run DMC, and they did Walk This Way with Aerosmith, and I love that video. You know, it was huge.
Big.
Yeah,
that was big because suddenly white people listened to rap.
Right. So and the reason I brought that one up because it was kind of crossing over a couple of genres that were really not all that compatible up to that point, you know.
Right.
And
I think that was a much bigger hit than the original Aerosmith version too.
Was it really?
Yes, it was. It absolutely was. It was a bigger hit the second time around.
Well,
and it was already pretty huge. So
Aerosmith's Pump album, which was their comeback album prior to that, did pretty good, but that really launched them. But I want to mention again what we said in private. The credit for the first rap hit goes to a white woman, and you guys can look this up out there in the chat. And it was actually Blondie.
Yep.
And it was
yes, it was rapping.
It was Rapture with Fab Five Freddy way back. So talk about album parallel lines. that made a difference.
Well,
That was a hit. I know you could throw stuff, but hey, that's the way it was.
We're going
First
to blame Blondie for all the terrible.
Hey, wait a minute. I didn't put it that way.
Hey, the lyrics
Well-
were brilliant. Anybody who can rhyme cars with Mars, come on, man.
right, yeah.
She had me with that right there.
Me too.
One way or another,
Well,
she's gonna get you. Get you.
Also though, you gotta give credit rap wise to the Sugar Hill Gang when they released the iconic Rapper's Delight. And that was in the 70s, and and the music at the time, it was really pushing the envelope, and it was giving angry blacks the same thing rock had given angry whites a decade earlier.
Yeah.
Uh,
It had its purpose.
yeah, social commentary, especially on life for Black Americans, and like rock before it, it gave rap a voice to the restlessness and tensions of the time.
Oh, is that what they're calling?
That's what I was trying to say.
Well, and two bands that kind of knocked out something different in the 90s, other than the obvious, which we know Nirvana kind of launched the grunge thing. But underneath that layer, there was two bands that were kind of knocking stuff out at the same time. And one of them for the women was Lana Del Rey. Lana Del Rey came out and was doing some really cool dark stuff, with Blue Jean and other things like that. Which, if it wasn't for her, you wouldn't have Lorde, you wouldn't have Billie Eilish today. So coming through the 90s on that to the aughts made a big difference. They're big songs from those people. And the other one of my favorites, Radiohead. They knock out Creep at about that same period at the early 90s. Nothing really sounded like it. And I feel that some of their albums were so ahead of their time, they're hard to listen to right now. I think years later, you're going to come back and go, oh, yeah, it makes sense. And Rainbow's album is a masterpiece, in my opinion. It's just so wicked with so much stuff going on. And that they beat Coldplay that year, which, by the way, there'd be no Coldplay if there wasn't Radiohead, in my opinion, is amazing. They gave the album away when Napster was going on. They said they gave their album away. Go download it for free. And people still bought it so much that it outsold Coldplay that year and it won Album of the Year. Amazing.
Oh, wow.
Those are albums that make a difference. So when you're doing stuff like that and you're creating other bands because of that, that's the album. That's why. When everybody starts going, oh, shit, we're cutting our hair now and we're going to put on flannels, you did something. You made something happen.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you guys probably remember, the whole rap genre. I mean, it seemed like the earlier songs, it didn't matter whether it was P. Diddy or whoever was singing it. It started out with a beat and a tune from a rock song, and then they would rap to it. Do you guys remember?
Thus the end of our civilization, right there. Right?
Right.
I always thought
I
always thought it was too gimmicky. I thought.
Yeah. And the end of creativity. Sample something. Need a rainstorm in your song?
Right.
Sample a rainstorm that was recorded 35 years ago, and it has been a continuous file, and is actually on about 42 different rock records. Right?
I said that's why you never hear Billy Squier anymore. He's been sampled so much he didn't have to tour or play anymore.
John Bonham's bass kick in When the Levee Breaks is one of the most sampled bass kicks. And the hi-hat of Denny Carmassi from Rock Candy is one of the most sampled hi-hat sounds. Just those specific. This shows you the importance of drummers. But I want to say, Royce, one of your fans in the chat I just spotted mentioned the Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
You got to
the Beastie Boys.
They were, we got these white guys from what, Brooklyn?
Right.
Like yelling and screaming, little skinny
Beastie
suckers.
Boys and Slayer playing together.
What was that album? They had that album with the airplane going into the side of the hill.
License to Eel.
That was a big album that changed some shit, man. I even heard that one. I was like,
Right.
Once again, Jeff to the rescue. He's got them all right there.
That's what I'm talking about.
Look at the live
that album, believe it or not.
He's got the little dolls. Yeah. Love you, Jeff.
Okay, now this band is escaping me right now, but I was kind of throwing it in with. They had songs like let me think for a second here. The singer died, and they were kind of a rap crossover rock rap band. The singer died. They were really big, and for some reason I was thinking about them earlier. I can't think of the name of them. Santeria was one of their big hits. Santeria.
Oh, yeah.
Sublime. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Which
They
kinda comes
were
off of
they were.
Prince. Comes off of Prince a little. Good. Comes off of Prince.
No,
a
I'm
little
just
bit.
saying that was those were some pretty innovative albums. Those Sublime albums.
And the Police. If you get if
And
you
the
take
Police.
Police Synchronicity album, you got
Right.
some parts of Sublime, in my opinion, because it's
Really?
got like, get. Oh yeah, that
But I thought the way they were mixing rap in on Sublime kind of reminds me of what you were saying about Blondie earlier.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Reggae.
mean
The
you mean
influence of reggae.
Synchronicity, the greatest '80s album that was ever created?
Michael, you
no,
go.
To me,
Okay, wait a minute, Michael. Now wait a minute. Where are you putting? I'm not even going to tell you my opinion, but I got to hear this one. Where are you going to put U2?
Oh, you too. Wow.
Oh, U2 to me, I'll tell you where I'll put U2. U2 to me, fabulous band. Just
Yeah.
like the Stones were fabulous next to the Beatles. All right. So
Okay.
when I think, no, I'm serious.
That's
I do
interesting,
not
yeah.
want to put U2 down. They can't stand what's his name, the lead
Bono.
singer's his politics, that he can't
Yeah.
keep his mouth shut, yada yada. But he is a fabulous vocalist. They are a great band.
Yeah.
Their
They are a
guitarist,
great
The
band.
Edge, is one of the most underrated guitarists on the
The
planet.
Edge. The Edge.
However, so is the Police guitarist, and the whole concept of Synchronicity,
Great
the
album.
song Synchronicity 2 is about a guy who's about ready to lose it, and
Yeah.
you see it done in what, a 3-act play? That
Yeah.
is
Wow.
freaking art. That is art.
Oh man.
Yep.
That's
you know
That
what?
is art.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That is art. Yeah.
Believe it or not, that album reminded me of an earlier concept album, a band that you rarely hear about, just like the Police. Remember Supertramp, Breakfast in America?
Oh yeah.
What
Absolutely.
an album.
Okay.
Holy
Yeah.
crap. And the best part was they were dogging America the whole time. If you listen to that album, it's basically saying how much America sucks, and we were buying the album like crazy.
And everybody wanted to go to Long's Drugs to buy stuff. Remember the commercials out here on the West Coast, Royce?
Yeah.
Long's Drugstore had the Long's Way Home as their
Right.
theme.
Okay.
Oh my God. And Jeff's got
That's
it.
funny. That's great.
Jeff, come on. Jeff, you let us down, man. What's going on?
Right.
not a
You know, I know
fan.
I'm going back a little ways, but there's a couple that new people I've kind of added here, and I wanted to see how you guys felt about as far as influential music, Velvet Underground and Nico.
Velvet Underground, yeah.
I don't know if
As
anybody
far
has-
as like a game changer,
Man, maybe not. I remember
Well-
liking them. I was in my early
really
teens.
good.
I think, you know what, that whole movement was a game changer for bands who became game changers. How about that?
Okay,
You
I
know,
like it.
Like Bowie,
You know,
David Bowie. Yeah.
yes, because
Yeah.
all these greater artists that with higher recognition, as if that makes you a greater
Higher
artist.
recognition, yeah.
But you know, later Lou Reed on his own,
Yeah. Yep,
David
yep.
Bowie, the whole New York scene. So
True.
yes, in a way, I guess the Velvet Underground is a game changer, but I see them more as like they're the wrapper you took off before you took the foil off that you got to
That's a good
the
metaphor.
gum.
Okay, I like it. No, I like it.
That's
Yeah.
a good metaphor.
I didn't expect any more of a reaction than that. I
can
just
see
know
them
that.
being influenced to Blondie.
Oh, they were great.
Well,
Yeah. Right.
Royce
What's
is
that,
stirring the pot tonight. Yeah. I see you, Royce. I see
Yeah.
you.
No, I know. I
didn't-
hear you.
I
Well,
didn't catch
also,
what you just said, Jeff. What?
And I was actually going to bring up Blondie, but we already did that. But okay, how about James Brown and the Famous Flames?
Of course.
I'll never forget the first time I saw James Brown. I think I was about in 7th grade, and we were at our little Henderson Theater where you got 2 massive features, full-length features for like 35 cents, and they played a short film of James Brown performing. And you know, every couple of minutes, his guys would come over and try to put a robe on him, and he'd cast it off and he'd drop down to his knees, and they'd try to get a robe on him and get him up, and he'd start to get up and walk, and he'd throw it all. And we just sat there and laughed and laughed. I mean, we didn't see anything. We didn't get it, you know. It was actually funny watching.
I loved it. No, the way he moved, he came out.
But he continued to do that throughout his life, casting off that.
First time I ever saw James Brown, he was on CNN. He was hauling ass through Georgia with about 40 cops on his ass.
Dude, I remember that.
Oh. No, but he had some.
What about the female James Brown? Tina Turner, man. When I first saw her on TV, I was a kid. I was blown away. I saw this woman moving like someone I've never seen move before. Now, the song was not so epic. It was rolling, right? Rolling
on the river,
CCR.
But that woman on the front, and I never seen anything like that. It was like when I saw the Beatles. I never seen a band like that. I never seen a front female singer like that. And I'm going to say this. She was black. And as a white boy watching TV back then, seeing a black woman dressed like that on TV was very unusual, if you guys remember. I'm just being real. And so I was blown away.
Tina Turner.
Like, wow. Yeah. Because
I think part of it, you know, Lou, was the fact that, first of all, top-rate singer, her husband, top-rate producer, musician.
Yes.
And on top of that, she's damn sexy woman. And she was put on in TV at a time where you didn't put damn sexy black women on TV unless you called her Julia, right?
you said what I said the politically correct way.
Yeah, no, I think it was shocking for a lot of the white audience, but especially young white men who went
in a good way, though. In a good way.
What? She's sexy, you know?
Yeah. And we were taught or saw that was not to be, but
everything was segregated still.
This girl could sing. She was badass. And she was pretty, and you had to sit there. If you had a sound mind, you went like, that's badassery all the way.
She had the right comeback album at the right time when Michael Jackson and Prince and all these were hitting, and she slid right in there with them, you know.
Right, with some of her most powerful stuff, too.
Right.
It's not like, she can sing for a middle-aged woman now. No, she was every bit as sexy as she was 20 years before that. Just as great a singer, and guess what? She sounded like so updated. What do you do with it?
Well, the story is
that
when Ike got out of the picture because he was abusing her, I'm trying to remember the name of the white guy who did all the ballads back then in the early 80s, is the one that took her. He did a ballad with her, and he put her under his wing, and she even thanks him to this day of resurrecting her career. And they were doing that stuff together. And then, of course, Mick showed up with her on stage on top of that. Doesn't do right. It was huge. What is that guy's Brian
Adams?
Yeah,
Brian Adams.
Yeah.
Woo, that hurt. That was it.
You
Brian
know,
Adams.
Not one of my favorites.
It's interesting.
But I get it.
But he was powerful, and it was another connection. I agree. Yeah.
I remember this right before she hit big with her big comeback album.
Yes.
She was doing country music for a long time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either. Wow.
I'll be damned.
That's really interesting.
What was that big album? We should What's Love Got
Private
to Do
Dancer.
Yeah. But what was the name of the album? That was the one where he.
Yeah, that's the name of the album.
Oh, is it really? It's called
Tiny Dancer. Yeah.
That was a badass album. I mean, I didn't own it, but I knew the song.
You remember that band, The Fix?
Oh, yeah.
I love The Fix.
Oh,
they were her backing band on that album.
What?
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Oh, God, The Fix was fabulous, man.
Yeah.
Not enough Fix, man.
So she had that updated 80s sound with them, you know.
Stand by Zero.
That was good. Right. Saved by Zero. One thing leads to another. Oh, great band. Great band.
Okay, I mentioned this.
Some shit.
I mentioned this to Lou earlier because I think that's thing over here, and it was Miles Davis, the album "Bitches Brew." I thought that was a good album, and I thought it was influential at the same time. And I know Miles Davis is famous for jazz, and he's a jazzman, but there could be a fine line sometimes between blues and jazz, you know. And
Oh,
there's influence
Yeah.
going both ways, you know.
He brought the brass in, man, just like some drummers, you know, like Gene Krupa, and then brought drums into the front. He brought the brass back. And my favorite brass dude is Herb Alpert. I mean, I think Herb Alpert's sick, man.
And the Tijuana Brass.
And let's go with the rage. If we're going to talk about influential albums of brass, Raging Bull.
Lonely Bull.
Lonely Bull, thank you. What?
Yeah.
Right.
But it's a badass album.
In a pinch, Herb could sing.
Yes,
Sorta.
Yeah.
And don't forget that
this guy,
you know, and put him in a bunch of soundtracks too. Remember, like Butch
Right.
Cassidy, that was all him. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Michael. What were you saying, dude?
Yeah, no, he was.
They were all over the place, man.
Yeah,
They had TV specials. You know, they sold gum. One of their songs sold peppermint gum.
Oh yeah.
On commercials. You know, they were everywhere. But matter of fact, Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass is one of the very first. I think it was the third record I ever bought. I was 12 years old, and I had my first portable record player, and I got a collection of the Beach Boys and all the surf music. I got the Everly Brothers, the Four Seasons, and that album.
I bought the Ventures. The Ventures. There's another one. The Ventures. They were no lyrics except for tequila, one word on that one.
Tequila.
And that album was badass, man. And then they released the gold album. Remember the girl in the bikini? You open it up and the chick was laying there with that gold. I had that on my wall.
Yeah. Right.
Holy cow.
Yeah, when I was a kid, you know, I played the trumpet for 7 years. So the first person I looked up to was, you know, Herb Alpert, you know, and the Tijuana Brass. And then I discovered Chicago. And then Lee Loughnane was my idol, you know, as far as trumpet playing goes.
In jazz band, go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to add on to you. I'm saying in jazz band back in the day, we fought over the lead. You know, you only have one drummer on the drum set in jazz band. There's three drummers. You had to fight for chair back then. You actually had to fight for talent. It's not like today where they reward you for everything. You actually had to play to get to play. And so we fought over to play 25 or 6-4 in jazz band because that song was so rocking. You know, we all wanted that song, man. It's a great song. Do you guys know what that song's about, by the way?
Oh yeah, I do.
Oh, you do? Don't say anything. Does anyone else?
No, I don't.
Go ahead, tell them, Dan.
It was something very simple. They were up all night. This is the story I heard. They were up all night, writing a song, and they're sitting cross-legged on the floor writing a song. And someone said, "What time is it?" And he looked at me. It's 25 or 6-4.
6-4 a.m. It took me 20 years to figure that out.
That's almost as good as the story where somebody asked Ringo, "How was his day?" And he goes, "Oh, it was a hard day." He looks out the window and goes, "Night." Same. It's almost identical, man. Great music. It's weird how great. What makes great music? You know,
that's not the only song Ringo did that on. You know, when
that's right.
When George Harrison and Eric Clapton were collaborating. You know, and Eric Clapton, all three members of the band Cream were given the task of writing a song for their last album. And so Eric Clapton wanted, you know, George Harrison to do him a favor and help him,
right? Because
he had played, you know, a slide guitar on As My Guitar Gently Weeps and stuff,
right?
You know, paying each other back. So what happened was they're sitting there, and George Harrison's there, and of course Eric Clapton, and there's Ringo over there drunk sitting on the couch. And so Ringo's listening to him go back and forth, trying to come up with lyrics and stuff. And Ringo goes over, "Let me see what you got here." And he's looking at the paper upside down with the words on it. And the name of the song was supposed to be Bridge. And he goes, "Oh, Badge. You're gonna call it Badge." And they said, "Yeah, now we are." And they called the song Badge instead of Bridge, like they had written down.
I had forgotten that story, but that's a true story. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Later, Ringo's sitting over there, and they got stuck somewhere. And Ringo threw out something like a girl that she looked like Mabel. I can't remember that exact line. And they took that exact line, whatever it was, and they put it in the song. You know?
Whoa. So I got a question, though. So I got a question. One of the guys we haven't brought up at all, and this is kind of an argument for today. Like back in the day, you didn't have to have. We're talking about albums that some of these albums, every damn song was amazing. But there's this one artist that I really like, and in my opinion, he had almost every album where they weren't like that. But he had just enough to be badass, and he's going to be, or if he isn't already, in the Hall of Fame. And he passed not too long ago. And that guy's David Bowie. Do you think he was influential on a particular album that would fit in this category? And if so, what album would that be?
Ziggy Stardust.
Ziggy Stardust, yeah, that's.
You know what? That's exactly what I was going to say.
What's that?
Yeah, Ziggy Stardust
album.
I would say, here's what's interesting about him, as far as I'll go on this. Ziggy Stardust, although I believe his '69 debut album was one of his best on acoustic. If you ever get a chance, listen to that. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah. And Space Oddity, I believe, is on that before it actually gets released with the full band. But Ziggy Stardust is the one that gets all the attention. But you know what? If there's a guy that exited big and who knew he was going to die and put an album out that kind of matches that Black Star album, although it didn't change music, it's got to be one of the most badass exits of an artist of all time.
Well, the jury's still out as to whether it's going to change music, right?
So, that's a good valid point.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of well-known artists have already given their thumbs up on that album. I haven't heard it but once, so it's interesting on first listen. Let's just put it that way.
Right. Yeah, that's where I was. I don't think it's his strongest, but as far as the string of songs, some of his best. I think what's really powerful are the videos that he released with it. The visuals that he did on that, and knowing that he's dying is really powerful, and that is interesting on that. Changing music, not so sure. Ziggy, maybe. That was pretty wild. That was, I mean, all of a sudden people were changing their hairstyles like the Beatles. You know, we all changed our hairstyle with the Beatles. People were dyeing their hair, and we had these mullets all of a sudden, you know, and red.
Now, what year did Ziggy come out?
Was it like 75?
I'm going to say 75 as well.
Well, then wouldn't you Alice Cooper as a band, the original Alice Cooper band? What about them fitting in before even Ziggy Stardust and plugging a lot of the same holes?
Well, you know, a lot of people go back to T-Rex as far as the original glam when he put the star and the platform. And had Elton on piano, I believe.
Right.
Wasn't Alice Cooper out before T-Rex?
No, it'd be after T-Rex, Tommy Bolin T-Rex at least.
Yeah.
Cooper would be after. But as far as full makeup and the theatrics, Cooper's got to be one of the first, if not, I believe he's before Bowie.
And what about the lyrics? What about their lyrics? Please clean the plates, dear. The Lord above you can see you. Don't you know there's children starving in Korea? Alcohol and razor blades, poison and needles. The kindergarten people, they use them. They need them.
There's an argument.
Oh, geez.
There's an argument that they're trying to say. Was Alice Cooper the grandfather of punk or metal or both? You know, you know. I mean,
well, he was also he was the godfather of shock rock.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, when he threw the baby in the air and he pulled the sword saber out of his mic stand and stabbed the baby. The first time I saw that, I was like, ah.
Well, even the recent show I saw of him here in April, Alice Cooper, they did the whole guillotine thing where they chopped his head off and somebody ran around the stage with his head.
I think you know, I've never seen anything officially written about this. You Kiss guys would know, but it seems to me that helped influence Kiss. I mean, how could
1,000%.
Right?
Kiss got their entire persona given permission by the Alice Cooper band.
I feel that way. I don't have any proof on that, but I feel like it seems like a natural.
Right.
And then don't forget the New York Dolls, which were kind of paralleled and not as known as Bowie. They were all in dresses like women way before the 80s, where everyone started dressing like women. So that was a whole thing.
Right.
You know, that's kind of you know, in the last 20 years, it seemed to be kind of a theme with the makeup and the mask and all that. Now, I mean, there's a lot of bands doing that. I mean, you got the Insane Clown Posse.
Then you got Gwar. There's a whole bunch of other bands out there that. Well, Slipknot is another one.
There you go.
You know,
I got the benefit and fortune of playing with Skinny Puppy and 9 Inch Nails, and we were, you know, in the front of these bands, and they were all new back then. And I got to tell you, there's another one, Trent Resner. when he first came out, the sounds that he was getting at that time were just different. You know, that he was way ahead of his time of using these repetitive arpeggios on the boards and mixing electronic drums with acoustic drums. So there's another guy that not to be overlooked as far as changing the direction. And a lot of those bands you just brought up, Dan, I feel were a result of Nine Inch Nails. Again, in my opinion, I think that might be gapped because of him. So, you know, watch out for that stuff. That might be in our next, what's it, 3-part series? Is that going to be right? Right? Good timing for that. This is a 3-part.
I'm not sure yet. I think we need to tweak the subject a little bit. You know, there's a lot of offshoots. You know, because it's hard to stay with. We tend to go back and forth between, you know, artists and the band and then the album. You know, it's easy to just switch back and forth between all of them.
Well, I felt we've stayed pretty true. But
no, we did. I'm not complaining. It's all just free flowing. You know, whatever direction it goes in, as long as we're all enjoying ourselves.
Well, Mary Jane out just in a comment saying Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Now, to me, Blood, Sweat, and Tears kind of goes up there in the same category as Chicago. Yeah, with the horns and you know.
Yep. Matter of fact, Blood, Sweat, and Tears and Chicago got off to a great start because, Dan, of Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass.
Yeah.
They had a sound. This was the next grown-up horn-based band sound, you know?
Yeah.
I'd agree. Yeah.
I don't know where you'd put
Tower of Power.
Yep.
Right? And but Sly and the Family Stone too. I don't know if that Sly fits quite in the same category as say you know, Chicago and the other one, but
they do as far as being a large band, though.
Yeah,
you know, they have that large band, that multiple, you know, 7 or more people on stage sound, which I like.
Right.
Chicago changed things because they were taking jazz into rock, and whereas Tower of Power, they were taking like funk soul into rock. But either way, they were rocking it up, and they were going mainstream with a sound that the audiences before were hidden away. I mean, let's face it, you can like jazz as much as you want, but they're not going to sell out the Santa Barbara Bowl when you put a jazz band in there. That's just the truth, you know? But you get guys coming up like Chicago that beef it up and put some balls on it, boom, you fill up the Santa Barbara Bowl.
That's right.
I was thinking Steely Dan, too. They fit right in that mold, don't they?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. They're more on the jazzy rock side.
Studio musicians,
If you're going to talk about jazz rock, Steely Dan rules the universe. All right, there's just no other band quite on their level. And guess what? They did it so many times. Their first album, then they left that off with Royal Scam. Then their second kind of turn at being popular on Asia, and then again Two Against Nature. Oh, Lord, man, 3 incarnations.
Wow.
And many incarnations in between all of those incarnations. That band rocks, man.
Although I'm going to get ready to duck.
I agree.
Go ahead, Dan.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, it's kind of funny, too. You talk about Steely Dan. You know, way back when, 48 years ago when I was in the military, my best buddy in the whole world, you know, we were buddies up until the time he passed away back in 2006. For 30-something years, we were best friends. His name was Jeff Steely, and my name is Dan. So when we were in the Navy, we used to introduce ourselves as Steely Dan.
There you go.
That's great, Dan.
No, here's what I got to say about as good as Steely Dan was. And first off, I want to say my opinion on Steely Dan was what was great about them was there's usually 2 types of bands. There's a studio band, there's studio musicians, and there's live musicians. I'm a hybrid. I'm lucky. I can get in the studio, but I'm actually sell more tickets live because the way I move, if you got to look, you make more this way. So it's just the way it is. Steely Dan admittedly said it back then, we're not that band. Matter of fact, the first videos and stuff, you never saw them. I will say this, as much as I like Steely Dan, I feel Michael McDonald ruined the Doobie Brothers. The Doobie Brothers were this guitar rock band, and then all of a sudden, Michael McDonald from Steely Dan, if you listen to all the backup vocals, that's him on keys, goes into the Doobie Brothers. You go, minute by minute, you're like,
exactly.
Well, you're absolutely right, Lou, and I always call them the Doobie Brothers and then the Don't Be Brothers. Michael McDonald. Hey, listen, and the Dope Brothers were okay. They're an okay band. I like some of their hits. They're fine. But they're the Dope Brothers. The Doobie Brothers freaking rocked, man. They were like levels ahead. Why
did they do that? Why?
Hey,
well, you know what? Part of it is Jeff Skunk Baxter
was about to
getting
say
more
that.
and more unhappy with Steely Dan. So he went over, both bands traded baseball cards here a little bit.
I didn't know that.
The Doobie Brothers said, I'll take a Michael McDonald and a Jeff Skunk Baxter if you don't mind. Right?
That's like
and so
Dixon
when they came over, and the reason Jeff Skunk Baxter wanted out, guys, was that less and less the two main writers there were starting to rely on Larry Carlton and players like that, hardened session guitar players that could take guitar solos even beyond where Jeff Skunk Baxter could take them, and because they wanted to get a little more traditional. And with the leaving, and actually Michael McDonald was never an official member of Steely Dan. He was like Rick Derringer. I think it was on Katie Lied. I think it was on Katie Lied that Rick Derringer and Michael McDonald for the first time. Maybe Michael was in an album before that, but that's where I tend to place him. Is Katie Lied, one of their best albums?
I'm not sure.
And they traded over, man. That's all they did is they traded over. Steely Dan traded from serious studio musicians to a semi-permanent position, and eventually they developed the sound they had with Asia.
Well, and one of the bands to put in for next show to check out Royce. Royce, take a look up on Art of Noise, because Art of Noise, speaking of production bands and studio bands, Art of Noise, you're going to find out these are just producers who end up taking even on the role of the musicians, and they come up with some songs that we can talk about next week. That because of that creates Susie and the Banshees and a lot of the 90s music, they were some of the first that would play sounds forward and backwards as the instruments at the same time. They sound amazing. So check out Art of Noise.
Okay, cool. No, I will do that. There's a couple of comments I want to bring out here. Zep Pearl brought up Private Dancer some time ago, about 15 minutes ago, when we were talking about Tina Turner. And Mary Jane brought up T-Berry Gum. We were talking about a commercial,
Oh yeah, the T-Berry Shuffle.
T-Berry Shuffle. Okay.
I remember that.
Okay.
Hey, Royce. By the way, Zep Pearl. It's good to hear from you, Zep. She's over from my channel, brother.
Right, okay.
Right, so welcome aboard. And you know what? I don't have access to what's been typed. So if anybody has been over tonight from my channel, good.
Thank you.
We need to keep this
Zep Pearl also says, didn't the Champs, a band named the Champs, do Tequila, the well-known version?
What?
Does anybody have an answer to that? Tequila.
That's right to me.
Huh?
Say that again.
Right.
What was it?
The Champs. Didn't the band the Champs do the song Tequila, the famous version that was always played on the radio and stuff?
Are you saying, okay, wait a minute. Are we talking famous version or the original version? Is the
well, the well-known version. Let me put it that way.
I always thought it was Herb Albert, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
Ventures also did it. The Ventures did it too.
Yeah, the Ventures did it too.
Oh, I mean, yeah, right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, the big Annette Funicello film, and then later on, Pee Wee Herman.
Annette Funicello.
Pee Wee Herman, yeah.
Yes, I don't know. I might challenge that one.
Those were the days. I've been wanting to cover surf music and surfing and stuff.
Oh,
I love all those old Frankie Avalon, Annette Funicello movies with.
Oh man, you got to do a whole thing on Frankie
Dick
and
Dell.
her.
Yeah, and Dick Dell and his Deltones playing on every one of those, and always a bunch of punks would come in and harass them, and the realness of the surfing scenes, it really got me too.
There's a new surf metal sound that's going on down in LA. I'll bring them up on another show. Where you hear these guys are amazing. Yeah, I was there.
Daddy Boggs.
Original.
Daddy Boggs.
Or talk about Dick Dale as a guitarist. Jeez.
Yes.
Daddy Boggs says the Champs had the original hit version.
Ah, okay.
Okay, yeah, Daddy Boggs, he's a wealth of knowledge as well. Boggs knows a lot.
Daddy, who wrote it? Who wrote it? Who did the? Who is the actual? Who wrote the damn song? What was the band? First one to do it. That's what I'm asking. Asking.
Oh no.
Oh, that was
Billy.
Did I say that mean?
Billy Bob Countryman. I don't know.
Going back to Skunk Baxter for a minute. Do you know why they called him Skunk?
No. This will be interesting.
Go ahead. Doc.
He's one of these type of guys that I guess when he was in the studio, he liked taking his shoes off.
Oh.
And they said he had the worst smelling feet, so the skunk stuck with him.
Oh, geez, that's terrible.
Thank God I didn't speak on that.
Not good news for the first 3 rows, guy.
Skunk Baxter did a lot of other work too with other bands. I mean, he kind of hopped around for a while.
Yeah.
I know he did a thing with Spirit. I don't know how many of y'all remember who Spirit is.
Yes.
But,
They were a big band.
Yeah, Randy California. Yeah, I guess Randy California and a bunch of others got together and did a all-star jam of I Got a Line on You.
Yeah.
And Skunk Baxter's in that one. Great video.
Wow.
Played that song a million times. Yeah.
I actually did the sound and the lights for Spirit once.
Oh, did you?
Back in and Badfinger back in *91. I used to.
Oh, right on. Badfinger.
Well, Joey Mullen is the only one left from Badfinger, and I used to joke around. He should change the name from Badfinger to Bad Little Finger. I mean, there's
one finger.
one finger. But it's pretty. And I'll tell you what, it's pretty cool talking to Joey. I got to talk to Joey for probably about an hour or so after the show, and sit there talk to somebody who knew the Beatles. He's the only person I've ever that close to somebody that actually knew the Beatles.
Right.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
here's something kind of interesting here. Daddy Boggs, we were talking about the Champs doing Tequila. He says he thinks Glenn Campbell played on that song too.
What?
Yeah.
Why not? Actually, that makes sense. Glenn Campbell, although people don't know this, he was kind of part of the famous, what were they called? The Wrecking Crew. People don't realize that Glenn Campbell was a part-time Beach Boy, part-time Wrecking Crew. That's how he made his ends meet until he got his solo career going. Gotcha. So that makes perfect sense to me.
That's interesting. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Boggs. We appreciate it. Yeah. Dang. Boggs is coming up with some good ones here. So is Zep Pearl.
I know he played on Viva Las Vegas. Glenn Campbell did.
No shit. I watched that. It was great. I'll be damned. You never know.
Zep Pearl made another interesting comment. He said, Skunk wanted to play live and make money, and Steely Dan just stopped touring. So that was kind of a bit of a
lot of reasons for that.
Good place
I
there.
can attest to that. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons.
So anyway,
if they ain't got publishing.
Let's all come up with one more album before we close the show that we thought it made some significant contribution, changed rock a little bit, influenced a lot of people. One more album that we all
could I bring up one? Could I bring
Absolutely.
up one that just has to do with maybe that started something? I think the original Stone Temple Pilots.
Oh yes.
Album.
Thank you.
Okay.
A lot of forward movement there, baby. Now, others would take it further, maybe, but they also took it further, maybe too. So I don't know.
No, they were great. They were great.
They're my whole favorite from that era, and they're not from Seattle, but they got lumped in with the grunge.
Yeah,
they're actually from San Diego. When Stone Temple Pilots first came out, it was in November of '92, and I guess it was they were coming to Dallas, and I'd never heard them before. And the only way I heard them, the radio station played out this new CD, and they played Sex Type Thing. And the moment I heard that song, I said, man, I got to see that band, and and about 2 weeks later, they were in town and at a little club here in Dallas. And so I go down there, and I already went and bought the CD. So after the show, during the show, they were tossing CDs out in the audience. And after the show, just right down the hallway, a little door, knocked at the door, and Eric Kretz, the drummer, opened up the door. I said, "Hey, can you guys sign my CD?" And he asked me, he said, "Oh, you got one of the freebies we threw out?" And I said, "No, I bought this." He goes, "You bought that?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Come on in." So I got to go backstage, and I partied those guys till like 4 a.m. And I got and me and Dean got along really well. And of course, this is before the internet and email and all this. Well, just the beginning of it. So he gave me his address, and I gave him my address, and we were pen pals for a while.
Right.
And, they go to Europe, and they're a big hit over in Europe, and he's sending me care packages with all sorts of Stone Temple Pilots stuff.
Nice.
Right.
Well, their lead singer, he was like this cross between a full-fledged rock singer and who was it? Brian Ferry of Roxy Music. He could almost do that blend full, almost bluesy, not blues, jazz, silky voice, right?
He had such a unique style. I saw him perform at the Paso Robles Fairgrounds with Slash's Velvet Revolver.
Yeah, I've seen that.
When they were kind of on top. And he's just a great front man. I mean, the guy's just got the moves, the whole attitude. It was just he was really good.
That was the first time I ever saw anybody put out a megaphone with a microphone in front of it. And I go, "What the hell's he doing?"
He sang every single song with Velvet Revolver with a megaphone. Yeah.
Two things. First off, Brian Ferry. These are two guys that I've met and I know and I hung out with. So first off, Brian Ferry, I'm so glad he was brought up. Roxy Music is one of those albums that should have been mentioned. The electric violin used on the
Avalon.
Nobody was fucking doing that back then. It was amazing. And
they were like a band from Mars, Lou.
They were
a rock band from Mars.
I sat with him and watched him. He was amazing. And he had a mixture. So Brian Ferry, I'm talking about, had a mixture of class and elegance and would sing this tuxedo. And at the time, what is now considered indie music or alternative, way before there was no such thing. So that's those guys right there. What an influential, what a voice. Avalon, those songs, absolutely amazing. Now, Scott, no one's been around a frontman like that since Steven Tyler crossed with Bowie. Yeah. That moved like that had that rock star stigma that you would sit and look, and there's something about that dude that just was larger than life on stage. He had that. And
he did. I agree 100%. Yeah, I agree.
You can't teach that. You
can't teach that. That's kind of what I was trying to say, but you said it so much better. But that's exactly what I saw.
Oh God!
I've seen concerts on TV and stuff too. Stone Temple Pilots. They're a great band. I love that band.
Oh yeah.
But here's where they make a mark in grunge, because they get overlooked a lot. Like Dan was talking about, because of Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, and of course Nirvana. However, the facts will show, if you look back, they were the first ones of those groups that filled the arenas. Right. They started filling arenas. They started making hits. They were getting the radio plays, and part of that was a woman picked them up and put them into those early video games, the ones with the ATVs flipping around. When they first started putting rock music in the back of video games, it was STP. Go back and check out it's all, I am, you're flipping around this little ATV. It was Stone Temple Pilots. That brought it up to it was brilliant. They were in the video game.
I remember I remember talking to Scott Weiland, when I was backstage with him. And I told him, I said, because their album was doing really well. And I said something about how much money they must be making. He just kind of laughed. He said, "We make about 12 cents per CD and then he talked about who all got a cut of that. And then I guess it was their second album. During their second album, he told me, he said that he can afford to take his girlfriend out to dinner now.
There you go.
But dude was badass.
Yeah, when I saw them, it was their first time outside of California. They had never been on tour before. And they thought it was pretty unique that somebody knew who they were from Southern California to Dallas, Texas. Somebody knew who they were, so they were impressed with that.
That's awesome.
Caught them early, yeah.
Anyway, I agree with all that. That's why I had to speak up, though, because I actually, like you, I met him too and hung out a little bit. I have his hat, that famous burgundy hat.
First time I saw him was on that second or third album, and they had Cheap Trick opening up for him.
Oh, really?
Amazing.
Oh, wow.
Trick is underrated, though. They're actually really good.
Yeah,
Good band. That dude could sing.
that was a great show.
But man, I wouldn't want to come out after Scott. I'll tell you that. As a front man,
No.
hell no.
Yeah.
Hell no. Some people you just don't want to follow. I wouldn't want to follow that dude when he was on. Later on, there were points at the end there where I didn't feel he was on. And unfortunately, he was one of those guys that normally you do better when you're clear-headed. He was the opposite. He did better when he wasn't. And
Yeah,
that's
I've read
just my
that.
opinion of when I saw him.
I hate to say it, but when I heard that he passed away, it didn't surprise me.
No, it didn't surprise anybody, I don't think,
It
unfortunately.
was catching up with him at the end,
Right.
You know,
Right.
what Lou just said, by the way, I just recently read, I think, in an article where one of the band members actually said exactly what Lou was talking about, is that he actually performed better the more wasted he was.
It's not popular to say that, but it's true.
Yeah. But, there are, it could be said Janis Joplin performed better full-on drunk,
Well, it's that loss of inhibitions when you've been drinking. A lot of these people are a little bit introverted without the drinking.
And I think
A
Scott
lot of
Weiland
people,
was.
they didn't have a whole lot to say until they started getting drinking, and then you couldn't shut them up afterward. But
Yeah, that's
it's
why.
I can see what. Yeah.
That's why Dimebag Darrell was. Before he went on, he had to get loaded before he went on stage. That's just the way he was. He was loaded pretty much all the time, but
Well, the difference with Scott was, Scott on heroin, he'd spray paint his body gold and put football pants on and go out,
Yeah.
Shit out of the stage.
Well, in the early part of Stone Temple Pilots, he'd come out in a woman's dress.
Yeah. Robert Plant was the first guy I ever saw. I'm like, is that a little girl's blouse he's got on?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a little girl's blouse. And
You just know the story is that he grabbed some girl's blouse before the first show and then had them tailored for him after, right? It has to be something like that.
All I know is I wanted a little girl's blouse to wear after I saw Robert Plant.
Yeah, he wore it well.
Right.
It
Right.
worked for
Real
me.
well. The rest of us would have looked weird. But
Yeah. Exactly.
Robert
that out,
Robert
Michael.
wore
I
it.
found that out. Yeah, you can't just copy somebody. You can't just do their hairstyle and think you're Robert Plant.
Well, folks, in keeping with my trying to limit the shows to closer to an hour, we've been on now for an hour and almost 20 minutes. So I think we're going to say goodbye here and keep this momentum going for the next one. I hate to get to the point where everybody runs out of words. I don't think that would ever happen with this group. but we can all be anxious for the next one. So anyway, thank you guys. I really appreciate y'all coming on and helping me and being
Thanks.
the big part of the show. Really, appreciate all of you. And,
every one of you. This has been great. You guys have all been kind of connected before. I just want to say, really, all of you, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, well, we love having you on. You can come back whenever you want. Yeah.
Great.
For months, I have watched you guys every time you guys are on. Even before Lou was part of it, I was watching what was going on. And so I feel like I've graduated.
You know what, Michael? I vow to interrupt every one of your shows. I'm coming to get you guys.
I deserve it.
I'm going to get every one of you.
That's great. And I also want to thank everybody in the chat. I mean, we're nothing without the chat here, as far as at least the way my shows ran with the chat. They don't all have chats. I started out. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeff. Say it again.
I was going to tell Caitlin I'm going to go have a steak and baked potato after this.
I started out without a chat. Jeff Davidson here and I were in a vinyl competition, and he whipped my butt. And the winner got to choose from a selection of vinyl that some record company was donating to the winner. And Jeff says, "Royce, I want you to choose the album." And so Jeff let me choose the album. And that's kind of where we both came from. And in fact, and Dan and I and Jeff, we're all on the same show together, so we all met, I don't know, a year and a half ago or something, and then
almost
Lou,
2 years.
Lou doesn't know that I've known him for a long time because, you've been around the area for a long time, and I've kind of followed your career a little bit. And I would swear a year ago, I told you this before, I was in Morro Bay and I looked over and there was Lou Mars, and we both stopped and kind of looked at each other, because we'd been interacting on Instagram a little bit, but we never really met. We both kind of stopped and looked at each other like we knew each other, and then we just continued on our way.
And for that to even happen, with Lou traveling all over the United States, for the two of you to even bump into each other,
Right,
kismet, baby,
right.
Kismet.
Right.
It was meant to be.
So anyway, thanks everybody. We're going to be back again next week, and I want to thank everybody in the chat. Really appreciate you guys, Caitlin, Bob, Zep Pearl, and Mr. Bizarro, and Daddy Boggs. My buddy Daddy Boggs is always great, and Mary Jane, thank you for being here. I'm scrolling now. And just thanks. Dave, the pickup guy, stopped in to say hi, and we appreciate each and every one of you that comes in and says hi. It takes your time to do that, because we're all busy, I know people that put 2-hour shows on a day, and I don't know where you find the time, not just to put the show on, but to even watch any of that, more than 5 or 10 minutes, because like my show was getting out of hand at 3 hours, 2.5 hours. So anyway, having said that, I'm going to say goodnight, everybody.
You're going to say goodnight right now before it gets out of hand.
I'm going to say goodnight. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody.
Good night.